The stranger who wore the family face. On the Ancestral Imago. A traveler arrived in a small mountain village where he had no relations. He came in on the road from the south on foot in the early afternoon of an autumn day. He carried a small satchel. He had been walking for several days. He wore the clothes of a man from one of the great cities below. His coat was cut differently than the coats of the villagers. His boots were finer than theirs. The villagers came out, as villagers do in such villages, to look at him. They stopped, one by one, in front of him. They looked at his face, then they looked at one another, then they looked at the photographs on the walls of their houses, which were visible through the open doors. The photographs were of their grandmothers. The village had a peculiar history. It had been founded 6 generations earlier by a group of 7 women who had walked up from the lower valleys with their small children, leaving behind some catastrophe the village no longer remembered. The 7 women had built the first 7 houses. They had named the streets. They had buried the first dead. They had been, in the village's memory, the founding mothers. Their photographs, taken much later in their lives, when photography had come to the mountains, hung in their descendants' houses on the walls above the fireplaces. The traveler had the face of all of them, not the face of any one of them, the face of all of them, the cheekbones of the mayor's grandmother, the eyes of the baker's grandmother, the mouth of the priest's grandmother, the forehead of the grandmother no one in the village liked to mention, the line of the jaw of the schoolmistress's grandmother, the set of the brow of the elder fisherman's grandmother, the chin of the 7th, the grandmother who had founded the smallest of the 7 houses, who had died young and whose photograph was the most faded. The 7 faces were somehow in one face. The traveler was not, by any obvious measure, beautiful. He had the slightly disordered features of someone whose features had not, in their gathering, been carefully arranged. He was a man of perhaps 40. His own expression was patient. He had had on the road perhaps 3 days to become accustomed to the way the villages he passed through looked at him. The villagers were silent. The mayor came forward at last. "You are one of us," he said. "No," said the traveler. "I am no relation. I have no family in this village. I have not before today known of this village. I have been walking on no particular errand from south to north, and the road has brought me here." "Then how," said the mayor, "do you have her face?" He pointed, through the open door of his own house, to the photograph of his own grandmother above the fireplace. "And hers," said the baker, pointing to her grandmother through her own door. "And hers," said the priest. "And hers," said the schoolmistress. "And hers," said the elder fisherman. "And hers," said the cousin of the grandmother no one liked to mention. "And hers," said the very old woman who was the last to remember the 7th grandmother. The traveler stood in the village square. He had not, in any of the villages he had passed through, been asked all 7 questions at once. He had been asked separately in different villages, by different people, how he had come to have the face of their grandmother. He had not before today encountered a village that had somehow gathered all 7 of his constituent grandmothers into the same square. He considered his answer. "Her face is mine," he said at last. "I had it first. I had it before there was a village. Your grandmothers borrowed it. They borrowed it as they were being born. There was a face waiting, and they put it on. They were not your grandmother's faces. They were my face on your grandmother's." The villagers who had been silent were silent in a different way. The mayor said slowly, "How can that be?" "There are not in this world," said the traveler, "as many faces as there are people. There are far fewer. There are perhaps 1,000 faces in the world. The rest is variation." A village of 7 founding mothers, 6 generations ago, was put together, by some process I cannot explain, from 7 of those 1,000 faces. The 7 faces were assigned to the 7 women at their births. The women carried them. The women had their own lives, their own characters, their own histories, but the faces were not, in the deepest sense, theirs. The faces were on loan. I am one of the carriers of one of the faces that the 7 women were assembled from. I am, in fact, a man who has been carrying my face for 38 years. Your grandmothers carried theirs for 60 or 70 years each, and then they died, and the faces went back into the pool. I am not, by any blood relation, anything to your village. I am only the bearer at this moment of the same face. All seven, yes, I have by some accident been given the composite. Most carriers of these faces have only one or two of the components. I have all seven. It is unusual. It is not in any deep sense mine to claim. It was assigned. The carriers do not choose, they are chosen. I have been chosen to wear in my single face the composite of your seven grandmothers. Why have you come here? I have not come here on purpose. I have been walking, the road has brought me, but having come I will say what I have understood since I have been walking with this face for 38 years and have had time to think about it. I have come to remind you, not by intention but by accident, that the face you have been mourning is not your grandmother's. It is older. She wore it for 60 or 70 years. The face goes on. I am wearing parts of it now. Some of your grandchildren will have parts of it too. They will not be her either. They will be wearing what she wore. The mayor sat down on the bench in the square. The other villagers sat down also in twos and threes on whatever they could find. They sat with this for some time. The very old woman who was the last to remember the seventh grandmother came forward. She was perhaps 90 years old. She walked with a stick. She came up to the traveler and laid her small hand against his cheek. "You have her chin," she said. "I have not seen her chin in 70 years. I have been mourning her for 70 years. "I am sorry," said the traveler. "Do not be. I have been mourning the wrong thing. I have been mourning the chin. The chin is in front of me. The chin has always been somewhere. I have been told today that the chin will go on, that she wore it and that you wear it and that in time someone else will wear it. The chin is older than her. The chin will be older than you. I have somehow been waiting to hear this for 70 years. I have not, in 70 years, asked the right question. I have been asking when she would come back. She will not come back. The chin came back. I will in time see it again on some other face. I will recognize it. I will know then that the mourning is over." She took her hand away. She walked back to her cottage. The traveler stayed in the village for one night. The villagers fed him. They gave him a bed in the mayor's house. They did not, in the evening, speak much. They had a great deal to think about. The composite face of their seven founders was sleeping in the mayor's spare bed, and the village was, in some way it could not have articulated, more crowded than usual. He left in the morning. He walked north. The villagers stood at the edge of the village to watch him go. They did not, in any precise way, know what to do with what he had told them. But they returned, one by one, to their houses, and they looked at the photographs of their grandmothers above their fireplaces, and they did not weep that day in the way they had been weeping for some years. They had been told something. They could not have said what. The grief was somehow smaller. The traveler continued north. He came, in other villages, to be looked at in similar ways. He spoke the same things he had spoken in the mountain village. He had by then been walking for years. He expected in his remaining years to walk longer. He had not chosen the work. He had been given it. He was the bearer of seven faces, and the bearing was not in any visible way his to put down. He died eventually in a village in the far north at 53 of an ordinary illness. The villagers of the far north buried him. They had not, at his arrival in their village, known any of his grandmothers. They had, however, recognized parts of his face, small parts, scattered. He had in their village the eyes of one of their grandfathers. He had the brow of one of their great-aunts. He had the chin of a stranger no one had ever seen, but whose face had always, somehow, felt familiar. They buried him with the small ceremony reserved for travelers without families. The face, when he died, went back into the pool. Someone in some other village is wearing it now. They do not know they are wearing it. They will not know in their lifetime unless they happen to walk into a small mountain village where the seven founding mothers have been waiting, in their photographs, for someone to come up the road from the south with the right composite. Most never do. The composites are rare. But the faces continue, generation after generation, in the small pool of 1,000 faces from which all the people of the world are drawn. The seven grandmothers, in the mountain village, are remembered with less weeping than they had been remembered with before the traveler passed through. The very old woman, who has since died, is buried beside her grandmother. The chin, presumably, is somewhere walking around. The face you are mourning is older than the woman you mourned. It was here before, it will be hereafter. Her wearing of it was a season. There are perhaps 1,000 faces in the world. The rest is variation. The carriers do not choose, they are chosen. The work of mourning is to stop mourning the chin and to recognize that the chin will appear again. It will. The mourning is over when you see it the next time.